arousing a compassionate mind, arousing true bodhicitta. The second mode of contemplation is to arouse true and correct aspiration for enlightenment, or bodhicitta, due to arousing a compassionate mind. We have already deeply considered the contemplation of objects as inconceivable, and know that one suffering is all suffering. We should reflect on and commiserate over the reasons for our past suffering. Delusions are aroused through being engrossed in the coarse impediments of the sights and sounds of mundane experiences, and we indulge in physical, verbal, and mental activities that produce karmic deeds that are not good. We thus transmigrate in evil destinies and are encoiled in scorching passions, so that we suffer both physically and mentally, and thus abuse and injure ourselves. Nevertheless, we turn back again and bind ourselves to the cocoon of passions and burn with the flames of deluded ignorance for 100 million kalpas. How painful this all is! Suppose that, wishing to abandon the 3 evil destinies, you take delight in the 5 basic moral precepts and the 10 good deeds. But to cultivate goodness only formally is like lightly bartering and exchanging goods at the market. The effects or awareness of your offenses will only increase. It is similar to a fish entering the mouth of a basket trap, or a moth flying into a flame, and by reacting confusedly, making things worse by furthering the delusions and becoming even further from the goal of enlightenment. This is like drinking salt water when you are thirsty, or like becoming entangled in a dragon's beard and suffering injury when it enters the water, or like wrapping a cow's hide around your body, which hardens when exposed to the light of the sun, or like a blind person who enters a thorny thicket and falls into a whirlpool and drowns. It is like grasping a sharp sword or embracing a flaming torch. It must be admitted that this is painful. It can be compared to stepping on a tiger's tail or on a snake's head. How frightening and grievous this all is! If you reflect in this way concerning yourself, you should, in the same way, have pity and feel compassion for others. Suppose someone rebels and uses a narrow path to escape to enemy territory. He must still be ready for a painful process, sometimes losing consciousness and then reviving, arriving at a poor village and being hired to work for a day, sleeping in a grass hut, never being able to make any progress, and finding pleasure only in rustic activities. Such a person does not believe in or know any better way. This is a matter of pity and astonishment. Thus should you consider the situation of both yourself and others as fish bones stuck in the throat. Therefore, arouse great pity and animate 2 vows. Though sentient beings are unlimited, I vow to save them all. And, though passionate afflictions are innumerable, I vow to sever them all. Although sentient beings are unlimited, like empty space, and without substantial selfhood, vow to save sentient beings who are like empty space. Although you know that passionate afflictions are without substantial being, vow to sever passionate afflictions that are without substantial being. Although you know that sentient beings are exceedingly numerous, you should save these exceedingly numerous sentient beings. Although you know that passionate afflictions have no limit and no end, you should sever those limitless and endless passionate afflictions. Although you know that the thusness of sentient beings is like the thusness of a Buddha, you should save these sentient beings that have the thusness of a Buddha. Although you know the passionate afflictions have the thusness of the true aspect of reality, you should sever these passionate afflictions that have the thusness of this true aspect. What should be done? If you extract only the causes of suffering and do not extract the results of suffering, The performance of this vow is mixed with poison. Therefore, you must contemplate emptiness. But if you contemplate emptiness one-sidedly and do not perceive sentient beings in their conventional and multitudinous being, how can you save them? Such a person is called one who is attached to emptiness. This is not what the Buddhists have taught. On the other hand, if you one-sidedly perceive sentient beings as substantial beings to be saved, you will fall into the mistaken view of great compassion based on passionate mistaken views, which is not the way of liberation. Now, the middle way of compassion I advocate here is neither mixed with poison nor false, and therefore it is called true. It is neither the extreme of one-sided emphasis on emptiness or the extreme of substantial being. Therefore, it is called correct. It is like a bird that flies through the empty sky but does not abide in this emptiness. Although the bird does not abide in this emptiness, it follows the tracks in the sky without fathoming it. Although sentient beings are empty, they are to be saved. Although they are to be saved, they are empty. Therefore it is said that such a vow involves locking horns with emptiness. Therefore this is called arousing true and correct aspiration for enlightenment. This is the meaning here. Again, know that contemplating thoughts is inconceivable means perceiving that one blissful thought involves all blissful thoughts. Your own self and other sentient beings have in the past sought bliss, though without knowing the cause for true bliss, like those who grasp tiles and stones thinking they are wish-fulfilling jewels, or who ignorantly point at the light of a firefly and call it the sun or the moon. Now, however, as you begin to understand correctly, you should arouse great compassion and animate two vows. Though Dharma teachings are immeasurable, I vow to know them all. And, though the Buddhist path is supreme, I vow to perfect it. Although you know that the Dharma teachings are forever quiescent, like emptiness, you vow to cultivate and practice them all as forever quiescent. Although you know that Bodhi wisdom has no substantial being, you seek yourself within this lack of being. Although you know that dharmas are like emptiness and without being, you vow to paint and adorn the emptiness with provisional colors. Although you know that the Buddha's path is not something to be perfected, you can attain flowers and fruits like planting a tree in empty space. Although you know that dharmas and the fruit of Buddhahood are neither cultivated nor not cultivated, neither illumined nor attained, nevertheless you illumine and attain them in their lack of being illumined and attained. This is called neither false nor mixed with poison, and thus it is true. It is neither extreme emptiness nor the mistaken view of passions for the conventional world. Thus it is called correct. In this way, the vows of compassion come neither before nor after the wisdom of contemplating objects as inconceivable, but both arise simultaneously. Compassion is indivisible from wisdom, and wisdom is indivisible from compassion. Ideally, you universally cover all, without conditions and without deliberation, naturally extracting suffering and spontaneously granting bliss. This is not the same as harmful poison, nor the extreme of merely emptiness, nor the mistaken view of passions for the conventional world. This is the meaning of the middle way, called true and correct aspiration for enlightenment. It means that you have pity on yourself and have pity on other sentient beings. Contemplating thoughts should be understood in this way.